Hey everybody, just going live with Guruji Marmaz, continued. Hey friends, I hope you had a good meditation. Hey, and Q and A. Pin comment. Okay, so thanks friends. So good morning everybody. Hi Swati Soris. Hi Trakas. Hi Swami. Hi Deepu. Hey, help me in please. Hello everybody. So we're going to talk about marmas. That was kind of a new topic for a lot of people because we've all heard about chakras all the time these days. And marmas are also these energy centers in our body which kind of really have a big impact on healing, as well as an opportunity for us to know where energy is trapped. A lot of acupuncture, a lot of other healing modalities are based on releasing energy out of these marmas. I'm saying. I do work with people on a 6-month basis. As somebody asked if I do consults, I work with people on a 6-month basis. That's how I work. I will be honest, I'm working on taking less and less people so I can do more and more of other writing work, teaching work, which I truly enjoy. I also enjoy working with people, but I feel like somebody has to be very, very dedicated for it to be like a two-way fulfilling journey. Okay, Guruji is here. Let's go. Let's get Guruji in. Anybody who wants to get in touch with me can get in touch via DMing me. Pranam Guruji.
Pranam, how are you?
I am very well, Guruji. How are you?
Doing very well, thank
I'm
you.
very well, Guruji, doing Archana every day.
Good. I can see that Archana on your face now.
Some days I can focus a lot better. Some days I'm focusing a little less, but I definitely go into another world. Guruji's taught us this Archana in his philosophy class. Um, Somehow, Guruji, my other meditation I don't do now. I end up doing Archana. Yesterday I did 48 minutes of Archana instead of 24 minutes of Archana. So I doubled
Wow,
it.
very
But
good. Very good.
today I still have to do. Today I just did 30 minutes of meditation, but I still have to do the Archana.
But that Archana should be repeated even when we get into other works also.
Yes, right.
It should become like an involuntary function as our breathing and heartbeat.
Yes, Guruji. I try as many times in the day to kind of remind myself, if I'm brushing my teeth, if I'm doing anything, I go back to the Archana. Sometimes even when I'm talking to you, I go back to the Archana. Even when I'm doing my asana and I'm holding a pose, I go back to the Archana.
Yes, very good, very
Yes.
good.
So your tongue is fully recovered, Guruji?
Completely cleared, but anytime it can come. So like I also do a lot of experiments in my meditation. My meditation is actually producing a lot of heat. It's a real tapas. So when this heat goes beyond certain limit, it will reflect in my intestine. The moment intestine get heated, it will reflect as ulcers in the mouth.
Got it. Oh, now I see what's going on, Guruji. Ah. Hmm. So
A
it's not
slight variation.
the idli sambar, which you probably don't eat.
Oh no, I don't
I
eat
know,
it
I
with
know, I
that.
know, Guruji.
Usually fermented items I will not use.
Yes, Guruji, of course, Guruji. I know. So we're excited to talk about marmas again, Guruji. So I was just trying to do a recap. We spoke about marmas. I'll just do a quick 2-minute recap. We have
Yeah.
108 marmas in our body. These are, and plus more, but like 112, but 108 really, which are known and understood. And this is where a lot of energy flows from different directions are happening. So all of that combination leads to a point of great energy where energy can be released and energy can be trapped. And this gives us an opportunity for a few different things. One of them is healing. When energy is released out of this, even when we look at acupuncture, it's kind of the same philosophy, which also actually comes from the same science of the marmas. And it kind of just unblocking those energies in those marmas, which have the tendency, it's like 100 rows going together, roads coming in. There's like, what is that called? A conjunction. There's a conjunction. So, there could be a traffic jam. Similarly, marmas could have like a traffic jam of energy. And so healing, because of, healing by releasing those energy in the marmas. A lot of massage, Ayurvedic massage also focuses on that. The second thing is also it was used for warfare, because if you know the marma points, and when attacked on the marma points, they basically can, lead to more significant injury than a normal place. And, you said, Guruji, in the dance forms of India, marmas were also used. I'm curious to know, what was the use of that? Was it just to release energies through dance? What was the goal of that?
Yes, it is. Once marmas are activated, it will liberate more energy. Not only dance, all other arts like Kalaripayattu. Kalaripayattu also rhythmic movements through which we can activate the marmas, which will work or it will improve its efficiency. One more thing we keep in mind, I was thinking how I can explain this one more efficiently, because it's very subtle matter. If we go through the books, there are many complications. In Marma Chikitsa or acupressure or acupuncture, people are actually exploring the peripheral level or the outer layer of the existence. There are many deeper dimensions. Just for example, if you get a disease, you may think, oh, I got this disease and I am getting this pain. But no disease will come to body all of a sudden. It has 3 levels. Have you heard about one book written by Dr. Deepak Chopra, The Return of the Rishi? In that book, he is explaining one of his experiences. It was really, heart touching. In his one day in his hospital, one person came and said, "Doctor, I think I am going to get a heart attack. So I feel some uneasiness. Please check." So he went for a clear, proper diagnosis. Doctor is stating that they had done all available, checkup to find out whether there is a possibility of heart attack. Doctors couldn't find anything. So they came to a conclusion that this person must be having an air upset or something. So they gave them tablets for relieving the gas. After 2 weeks, the same person came, looked more tired and depressed, and he said the same thing. He said, "I think, doctor, I am going to get a heart attack." Doctor was saying they repeated all tests, nothing found. Send him back. After a few days, that person was admitted in hospital, emergency section, with a massive heart attack. Doctors couldn't do anything and he died. So he was explaining that he felt ashamed being a doctor. Actually, really what happened is what is happening. No disease will come directly to the body. First, it will manifest in the mental level, in Manomaya Kocha, where the memory is there. So from the memory, it will start, that particular vibration will start getting strength. Then by the time, definitely everybody will feel, is there something wrong in my body? Like that they will feel, because the problem is developing in the mind. From Manomaya Kosha, it will be shifted to Pranamaya Kosha. That time, the person will feel uneasiness or pain. Still, in the laboratory, we cannot find anything because it is in the Sukshma Sharira, in the astral body or pranic body. From Pranamaya Kosha, once it is taken into Annamaya, the visible body, where the real damage is shown, then only through our microscopic analysis, we can find out a problem. That means that is the third layer of manifestation. Already it damaged the matter. So what I am saying is, people are focusing only in the matter level, the tangible body. So acupressure, acupuncture, all these teachings and verifications are speaking about the tangible body. But the real marma is functioning in the pranic level. That is why I can give you an analogy that you consider this 108 marmas as lamps, diya, and the oil is the air. So if the diya is the flame is coming only because of the oil. If there is no oil, what will happen? The flame will be put out. So the flame is our marma and air is the oil. That is why there are two significant possibilities in our body or signs to find out that a person is alive or dead. If you see a person who sits like dead person, you will try to see, oh, he is breathing. Then, even though the breath is there, if his body becomes very cool, what will happen? If it is cold, then heat, air cannot function. So actually, the fire and air are complementing each other. So our marmas are real points of fire, and they are closely associated with the cosmic energy sources. That is what is called tapa. Tapa is heat, and it has a direct link with our Agni Nadi. We have a Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, and Agni Nadi. Solar nerve, lunar nerve, and Sushumna, spinal cord. So our heat in the body is linked with the cosmic energy, which is called the Vishwa Prana. It is heat. Then that heat is manifesting through this 108 points, which we call marma or varma. So when we manipulate these marmas, immediately the tapa, heat level in the body will be varying. According to that variance, breath will change. So when prana and the heat or vayu and tapa directly link, which will produce vata. Vata is the life energy which is flowing all over the body. So when we think of marma, please go deep into the system as pranic body or mental body. Only manifestation is in the body, peripheral body or tangible body, marma points. This is comparing to the essence, the external manifestation is very, very simple, insignificant.
Yes, Guruji. And Guruji did a beautiful job of explaining to us last time that how we start from ether, we start from that sukshma level, and how we manifest into gross. And he says when we arrive, we come from the cosmos, which is etheric. Then the first thing, then it takes a little bit of transformation. Every transformation takes heat. And then you reach wind. From the wind becomes fire. As that transforms, fire is right in the middle. After that fire level, you come into water and then earth. And this earth, what we are, this earth body made of earth and water, is the gross manifestation of our etheric reality. And when we want to go back to the etheric reality, again, we apply heat.
Yes.
And Guruji suggested that these the marma points are like communication towers with that,
Yes.
right? The fire is right in
Both
the middle.
mechanisms.
Fire is right in the middle. And the fire is a communication with both the worlds.
Yes.
And when we want to go back from gross to subtle, then we need to use these, this kind of concept of heat. And
Yes.
right now, what Guruji is explaining to us is not, guys, anybody who has a sthula vata imbalance or a gross vata imbalance, he's talking about sukshma vayu, which is
Sukshma.
the subtle vata, the prana that keeps us alive.
Yes.
And these marmas, when combined with the prana, right, which things like pranayam, the Guruji suggested,
Yes.
they combine, that heat is produced, that lamp is lit,
Good.
the marmas become activated. So while we can do temporary manipulation with, touch and acupuncture, that's just going from the gross to the Agni level. But if we want to go from the heat level to the cosmic level, we need to work with that air level, right, Guruji? So when
Yes.
the acupuncture will help from the earth level to the Agni level, but it won't take you beyond that for your growth and spiritual evolution.
Acupuncture is only a medicine.
Yeah, it's only
It's
medicine.
acting as medicine. So when we apply medicine in the body, medicine is only supporting to heal. But the real healing is happening by the prana. If prana is not up to the standard of manipulation, then there is no effect of medicine. That is what we call heal.
Absolutely. And everybody, please remember this, because a lot of people also, Guruji, they want to come to me and they're like, hey, give us some medicine for our mind. But like Guruji said, if the medicine is made of earth and water, it's gross, right? It's only going to have an impact on your gross body. You need something subtle to have an impact on the subtle body. These kind of practices that Guruji talks about, the breath work, the pranayam, all of those will have an impact on your subtle body because they are subtle. So it requires the subtle. So Guruji, what you said is that the Sushumna Nadi is also called the Agni Nadi? Sushumna,
Agni Nadi.
okay.
Yeah.
So Sushumna, Agni, Vayu, all go hand in hand.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay. If anybody else also has any questions, please, this is the time to ask them. You can ask me your question, ask Guruji your questions. You can put it down and I'll read them to Guruji. So Guruji, my question to you was this with the marmas, right? So Guruji, how are the marmas and the chakras connected?
Chakras are actually marmas. That's what I told you.
Yes.
There are 108 energy points, which usually we call varma, but there are 140. This other 6 chakras also considered as main marma. So in reality, we say there are 114 marmas. But since it is not, since it is considered as highly spiritual, that 6 chakras are taken out from the list, and 108 is used for treatments. That also the 108th one, Kelasakala Marma, is also not used for manipulation, because that is the direct sender for commandments. That's why it's called Ajna Chakra. Ajna is command. So here generally people will not do anything. Other 107 marmas can be used as medicine.
Got it. So the reason why the marmas are kept out of the chakras are kept out of it, because these cannot be manipulated physically.
No.
So marmas became a popular concept because of physical healing and touch and manipulation. So they kept this out because you don't, this is for your spiritual growth, right? So Guruji, what I'm imagining is as we work, right? And as we work with the prana, even in our chakras, because when we work in a prana, it's all spinal cord. It is this. So automatically, as the chakras get influenced, the marmas will also get influenced.
Definitely.
Right? Because this energy flow will increase.
When we do pranayama or any other exercise, directly the energy or the effort will go to marma. Then marma get activated, that heat will be generated. That's why when we do pranayama or exercise, we start sweating. So heat will be more. in the system. That heat, when it reaches to beyond certain limit, chakras also can be activated. So that is what we call sometimes when you do the bandha or kriya. Immediately the chakras will be activated. When that activation goes beyond certain limit, Kundalini will be awakened. So many people think, oh, through pranayama, Kundalini, if you fall from a height, your Kundalini can be awakened. If you are exposed, met with an accident, then that can immediately the Kundalini can be awakened. So even if you get one like electric shock, the Kundalini can be awakened. So everything depending on the intensity, intensity of the strain. So pranayama also a particular strain applied in our body. When that intensity goes beyond certain limit, Kundalini will be awakened. Even if you do a weightlifting, when you go beyond certain limit, hold the breath and try to lift a heavy weight, sometimes your Kundalini can be awakened. All these things are happening because of the heat applied in our marma. Even medicine also doing the same. All medicines are mild poisons. When it is taken into our system, mixed up in the blood, body will get disturbed. That disturbance will be noticed by the system as heat. Then the heat will be spreading the whole system. Then the marmas will be activated. The heat is more. Where heat is there, air will be forced over there. Like how a small fire in the forest slowly convert itself into a wild fire. Little fire will bring air over there. So air will be complementing that fire. They complement each other. Like that, it will flare up. So what we should understand is all applications in the external marma or marma bodies will be working as a medicine. It will change the Agni level, fire level in the body. Accordingly, air level also will be influenced, which will lead to a healing. But again, the healing is depending on our inner balance, which we call immunity. Immunity can be maintained through a combination of mind and prana. That immunity will reflect in the matter. I think you got the idea.
Yes,
Is it
Guruji.
complicated? Yes.
Yes, Guruji. But I want to clarify for everybody else one thing, because Guruji talks to us about it in our Friday class, is that this kind of Kundalini awakening, premature, which happens accidentally or because of forced kriyas,
yes,
is like playing with fire, because now your body suddenly has so much fire. It's like giving child fire to play with, right, Guruji? So
yes.
that's because that's the level of heat of tapas that's happening in your body, and you're not prepared for it. And so I just wanted to clarify that, because somebody asked a pranayam question. We will get to that pranayam question as well. The second thing, Guruji, I'm just thinking in Ayurveda, right? We have something called Agni Chikitsa. And Agni Chikitsa is applying external heat to certain parts of the body. And Guruji, so what Guruji is explaining now, it's making so much sense to me, because even in Agni Chikitsa, when we use fire, right, we literally use like a hot drop of oil or even a matchstick sometimes. And the goal is to reroute air in another direction. And that's what happens when you do the internal tapasya as well. The minute there is heat produced, air gets rerouted. So Guruji, there is a question, and then I have a question too, that, Guruji, somebody's saying that they do belly breathing, the effect that belly breathing has, and how it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and how that affects the physical body. So Guruji, can we talk a few minutes about all this pranayam that, people are advertising and doing? Can we talk for a few minutes about that?
Yes, of course. What is the question? Belly breathing?
So the question is, Guruji, that can we talk about people taking on Kapalbhati practices? Because I know what Guruji told us and I experienced this actually, that you come to these pranayams by yourself. You don't go and look for them. Your body automatically reaches those. So Guruji, can you talk about them? Can you talk about that? Because a lot of people are doing, Agnisar and Kapal Bhati and all of that. Is that something that you recommend? I know you, and I know you gave us the answer, but I just want you to talk to everybody else about it too.
See, all pranayamas are leading to Kevala Kumbhaka. Kevala Kumbhaka is the ultimate goal for pranayama. Then, how we can acquire Kevala Kumbhaka? Puragam, Rejagam, Muktva, Sukham, Yet Pranadharana. Pranayama Yamititva, Savai Kevala Kumbhaka. This is what is written by Herandamuni and Swarmarama in their Hadayoga Pratipika and Heranda Samhita. What does it mean? Irrespective of inhalation and exhalation, the practitioner must be capable of maintaining the prana effortlessly. That state of comfort is called Kevala Kumbhaka. So there is no inhalation, exhalation considered. Irrespective of this inhalation and exhalation, the real prana has to be managed. Exhalation and inhalation is depending on prana vayu. So when we inhale, air is going in, air is going out. Without air, we cannot survive. But with which energy the prana is sucked in? Prana is making the lung expand and it is contracting because of that. Because of that function, air is being inside, taken inside. That
Guruji, people are saying that your voice is not audible to them. I don't know what's happening with. Can anybody hear? Is there anybody who can hear? Can you all tell us? Let me see. Just say. I can hear you. This happened one more time this last week, and I put it in the chat, Guruji. So let's wait for people to respond. Yeah, people can hear. Okay, Guruji. Only a couple of people. Oh, can hear. Okay, great. Okay.
Okay. So prana and pranavayu are different. Vayu is air, prana is our vital energy. This is what we have to understand. So pranayama is the variations in the prana, artificial application of the variation. But as what is written in our books, like Kapalbhati, Brahmari, Bhastrika, Plavani, many things are there. But these things are not supposed to be practiced as they are or directly. Nadi Shuddhi must be done. Through Nadi Shuddhi, the capability that Kumbhaka will be becoming effortless. Then once mind merge into prana, Kevala Kumbhaka will happen. Through that Kevala Kumbhaka, as we advance in meditation, when we go to higher planes, certain kriyas will start taking place spontaneously in our body. Actually, all other pranayamas are these kriyas. Sometimes a fast, uncontrolled movements we can see in the belly. There, actually, Bhastrika is happening. Why masters wrote that? When it happens spontaneously, the seeker should not be panicked. So he can verify what is going on in my body now. It's a confirmation that nothing to worry. Now you are in this Bhastrika. Then the seeker will be having more confidence. He can do Nedi. Nedi means not this. He has to ignore that. Another day, spontaneous vibration will take place in the head area, which we call Kapalbhati. That time also, the cavities, millions of cavities in our body, especially in head, opening from nose, ears, eyes towards the brain. All these cavities will be cleansed. by Kapalbhati. But if we keep doing like a continuous sneezing, it will give extra load to this area. But once it happens, its own, the whole cavities and the cells and all other things will be managed by the body. There we can verify, yeah, now I am in Kapalbhati. This is what we must understand. Sometimes we feel our anal area is completely being pulled up along with the genital. So severe pain will come. We may think, we are losing all our control, we may become mad. But nothing to worry. That is really Ashwini Mudra. Mudra means it's like, sealing, with the full force. It's like when you go to a building which is closed by the court order, you can see a board over there or a notice with one seal. That is what is called government mudra. It is sealed forever, or it is sealed till another verdict comes. So same way, when mudra takes place, certain area will be completely sealed for a certain period. Then we must know how to unlock that. If you are guided by a master, master will tell you, now you are in the Sajjuni Mudra or any other mudras, many Parangmukhi, Ashwini, Plavani, many things are there. But what we should do, we refer the book, go through that. It's only for verification, not for direct practice. Again, you may ask, then what a person should do? Only Nadi Shuddhi. Again, Nadi Shuddhi is, written in the book, like hold one nostril, inhale through one, hold for a while, then exhale through the other. No. Hakarena Bahriyadi, Sakarena Vishetpuna, Hamsa Hamsedi Mandroyam, Savai, Jivaisha Dittive. It is clearly written in the book Yoga Shikhobhanishad, Nada Bindu Upanishad. You can see this thing. What does it mean? You have to sit with a straight spine, no action in the muscle. If you hold one hand like this, there is a strain already applied on one hand. Then the alignment is not happening. So when you sit straight with a relaxed hand, when you inhale, Hakarena Bahriyadi. Bahir means your body will expand along with the inhalation. When you exhale, Sa. Sakarena Vishetpuna. With the sound Sa, you are exhaling. So inhale with the hum, then you can hold. Ureye Udaram Chanaihi. Pranam Suryena cha Akarshya. Ureye Udaram Shanaihi. Vidhivat Stambagam Krutva Puna Chandrena Redeye. What does it mean? When you inhale, the sound hum is coming. Akarena Suryasya Sakareno Induruchire. Hum represents sun. Sa represents moon. So when you inhale, hum is taken in. Ureye Udaram Shanaihi. Fill your belly according to your comfort state, ability. Hold there. Vidhivat Stambagam. According to your capacity. Hold over there. Kritva Puna Chandrena Rejaye. Release through Sa. So inhalation hum, exhalation Sa. This is actually Nadi Shuddhi. So I don't know from where these ideas came, like inhale through right nostril, exhale through left nostril. These nadis will keep changing. So if you look your body seriously, what will happen? Always this right nadi will not be heat producing. Nadi will keep changing based on the cosmic change. So we all are integral part of the cosmic system. As changes happens in cosmos, in our body also, that changes will reflect. So Surya Nadi is inhalation. Chandranadi is exhalation. This we must understand. Nadi Shuddhi is holding the breath either inside or outside. After inhalation, you hold for some time. That is Andha Kumbhaka. After exhaling, you hold. That is Bahya Kumbhaka. When you go beyond this Andha Kumbhaka and Bahya Kumbhaka, Kevala Kumbhaka will happen. The moment you get Kevala Kumbhaka, gradually you will be leading to Bandhas, Kriyas, then finally Mudras will happen. So all these things are experiences, not for explanations. Then why masters explained? Because the people who are coming in that line must get some guidance. That is why they wrote these books for reference, not for direct practice.
Great, Guruji. Great. Okay. So I'm just going to summarize what Guruji explained is that Guruji always talks about yatha mana tatha prana.
Prana.
So he said that we start with just understanding our breath instead of going and taking a full practice. The start of the journey is that the breath is what connects the gross body and the subtle body is the breath. So you start by focusing on the breath, and Nadi Shuddhi, or cleansing your channels, the Surya and the Chandra, is about understanding and doing a full inhalation and doing a full exhalation based on your capacity, whatever your capacity is, but putting your mind on it, because where you put your mind, that's where energy flows. So you put your mind on it, you do a full inhalation, full exhalation. As we keep doing that and put our mind on it, channels will keep opening. There will be a natural desire to hold the inhalation longer. I know that, Guruji, because I have experienced that. There'll be a natural desire to hold the inhalation deeper. And that is, you will end up doing a kumbhak. There will be a slower exhalation, and, there will be a hold at the end of it. And that will be an external kumbhak. From that point onwards, naturally, you will want to do a Kevali Kumbhak, which is completely holding. But what Guruji is saying that we will stumble upon all of these stages naturally as we start at this basic Nadi Shodhan, which is a full inhalation and a full exhalation according to our capacity. We will keep evolving in our practice. When we look at the scriptures and we see all of these, Kapal Bhati and this and that, all of these names for these breaths, they're not written as a manual for us to go and do that. They're actually just mentioned there because as the seeker goes on this journey and reaches these stations, he shouldn't be scared that, oh my God, what happened to my body? Like I know, Guruji, somebody actually, even now she's suffering, actually her body, she's gone into a natural Agnisar and her tummy does not stop moving, or Bhastrika, and it just, every time it's just doing this all the time. And it's very scary for somebody who naturally arrives at that point. So the scriptures or the Shastras guide us that, hey, if you come here, don't worry. This is a normal station in your journey. And this is such a beautiful way of doing this, Guruji, what you said, it has only felt right. I must say that, I've tried all kinds of pranayams and kriyas, and it just does not feel right. But this and the evolution happens so quickly when their focus is put just on this, what Guruji is suggesting. So that's such a great place. People get impatient, Guruji, and we want to do 10 other things, but they never really serve us. And this serves very, very quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly it serves. Okay, so Guruji, people have asked questions, and I want to take some questions now. So the person says, Devika says, during belly breathing, I think when she's just doing belly breathing, sometimes my belly moves and vibrates on its own. Is this like a bhastrika?
Yes. If it is happening spontaneously, that is bhastrika. If that bhastrika is disturbing, what we have to do, we should do Andha Kumbhaka. Then that, the vibration, the pumping can be managed.
Okay. That's good to know, Guruji. That's good to know. So then you just kind of hold, okay, Devika? So Devika is asking, can you suggest some books? That's why Devika, Guruji's course, I still think you can access the recordings and continue to do with us. Guruji's suggesting books. He's helping us how to go through those sutras. That's a really good place. But Guruji, do you want to talk about any books right now with people, or you think you need a guru for that, right, to understand what to take from the books?
Actually, these things are like driving or swimming. It cannot be learned completely from the books or through
Safely.
the book.
Yeah.
These are only for reference. The practical lesson has to be taken from an experienced person to a certain extent. After that, when the self-control gets, then we can advance with the help of books.
And that was great. Even Guruji told us earlier that we are like the pole vault. You know, the Guru is, you hold the pole, but the big leap we take on our own. But till that point, we need that stick.
Yes.
Yeah, Bijal, Nari Shuddhan Beshuddhi becomes a type of meditation. So Guruji, somebody's asked this question, and I also want to do I know the answer to this. That
Okay.
he says that seems like Vipassana meditation is the best to practice compared with other forms. Guruji, I want to know your take on Vipassana because I've done it for many, many years before this. And I want to know your take on the Vipassana meditation.
Uh, Actually, I am not familiar with the Vipassana practice. I heard about it. They will go for silence for 10 days or in a continuously 10 days or something like that.
So I'll tell
The
you what
word,
it is. Huh.
the word Vipassana from Sanskrit being detached. This is what I understood.
Is an observer, Guruji. Vipassana is an observer. So
Mhm.
the Vipassana practice is just so for the 3 days, there's something called Anapan where you do nothing. You just observe your breath, your natural breath. You just put your entire mind on your natural breath. You don't force it, you don't do anything, you just observe it. And automatically by the third day, the breath becomes very, very sukshma, extremely sukshma, and it's just so subtle, and then you focus, and the whole day, Guruji, like I've gone for many Vipassana camps, even at night your body is pulsating, you know, everything is pulsating, you're feeling all the pulsations, but you just observe the breath. And then after that, for 7 days, you observe the sensations in your body, but you do as a witness. So you don't observe it with the bhokta bhav, you just have a drishta bhav, where you just observe all the sensations that come up for you on your body without craving and without aversion. But it's like it's 13 hours a day, but it's just observation. So I don't know. Maybe
Okay, let me ask you a straight question then,
huh?
just to clear a few things. Have you done a Vipassana camp?
I have.
Okay. Then why did you feel that you have to search for something else?
So, Guruji, for me personally, it was very difficult. I know that each time I went for Vipassana and I came back, people were like, oh my God, you have a bulb sitting in your head. But you know what happened, Guruji? So much comes up, right? Years of trauma and things keep coming up. I felt like I was too young as a householder to handle it on my own. Because as literally you're doing Chitta Vritti Nirodha for 10 days, complete Chitta Vritti. I was even looking down. I didn't even look at anybody else. Just the food was, so it was full Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So lots of things came up for me. And I still feel drawn to it, Guruji, but I feel like it's more of a practice when you're really, really ready. That's how I felt, Guruji. I mean, lots and lots of things keep coming up.
I heard about, this Vipassana like this only. My question is, why this person is looking for something else? If you get the right thing for you, your stomach is full, then why we want to search for another food? If you search for another, you have not got the real thing. This is what we have to understand. We have to be honest with ourselves. Yoga is not for talking. Yoga is for knowing the self. And if you know yourself, then there is no need of asking questions. questions are coming from doubtful mind.
Agreed,
So
Guruji.
this we have to keep in mind. Since
Agreed.
you asked this one, I heard Vipassana tradition is from Buddha tradition, Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I heard.
Mm.
This Anapana you just said, actually, this is what I understood.
Mm-hmm.
Inhalation is prana, exhalation is aprana or apana.
Mm-hmm.
In South India, it is called Munnul and Pinnul in Tamil. So languages will differ,
Mm-hmm.
but the reality will remain one.
Mm-hmm.
And Mahayana, Hinayana, that is Suryayana or Chandrayana in yoga. So Siddhartha Gautama actually was trained in Kundalini yoga. That's why it's called Vajrayana. Suryanadi, Chandranadi, Vajranadi. Vajranadi is Agninadi.
Mm-hmm.
So people are being confused with the terminologies.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the essence,
Mm.
all are talking about body, mind, and spirit. So instead of anapana, you can say pranapana or inhalation, exhalation.
The name
So
doesn't
only
matter.
the language is different, different, but the reality, activity in a body is same.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, if you focus your mind in the body beyond certain limit, as you said, body needs time to change the structure. Restructuring is necessary. I will give you one of my experiences if you have time.
Yes, please, Guruji. We love to hear all your experiences.
I was a wandering monk for 9 months, in my like earlier time. After as I left Oman, I wore my saffron myself, growing my beard because I wanted to look like and convinced me like a Swami. So I was careless. So I was wandering from Cape Comorin to Kashmir. I was a wandering monk. Then in between, I came back home. I felt that time around 4 or 5 months of this traveling, I thought these guys are not genuine. They, whom I met, many people, well-known people I saw, very like avadudas, looking like mad people, but staying in seclusion. All kinds of gurus I saw, but I didn't get a proper answer. So finally, I felt a conclusion that these guys are simply, like pseudo guys. I don't want to follow. So I collected few books and then made a small room and sat inside as if I was sitting in the cave. But one day, one of my friends came. He said, there is a master in Tiruvannamalai. Tiruvannamalai is in Tamil Nadu, where Ramana Maharshi. Have you heard about Ramana Maharshi? Yeah, that his ashram is there in Tiruvannamalai. And my friend told me, this in Tiruvannamalai, a very famous master is there, and he's very powerful. They say this person has not spoken any word for many years. And he climbed on that hill around 5 years ago. Then for all these 5 years, he remained over there. He didn't come down. Then all of a sudden I felt, if there is a master like that, he must be my master. I told him, come on. Immediately we left to Tiruvannamalai. Around 11 o'clock we reached there. Night. Then we took a small room in the lodge and asked about this guru. There was a guy who was helping us, and he was talking Tamil. And he said, this guru is there for 5 years. He has been meditating there, and he's a crazy person. So if you go there, don't give dakshina as money. If you give money, he will take stones and attack you. So then I said, what I can offer to Guru? He said, keep some banana or some apples, some fruits you can give, or nuts. He loves. So next day morning, around 8 o'clock, we went to the temple. There is a very famous Shiva temple. We went there, and after that darshan, 9 o'clock, we started climbing the hill. It was in March, April, peak summer. And we were not wearing shoes. But I was reciting my Panchakshari by myself. Nobody told me, but I felt for that many years, months, I have been meditating, reciting this Namah Shivaya, continuously. My life was Namah Shivaya. I was reciting Namah Shivaya, I started climbing. I was very fast. My friend was a bit heavy. He said, Master, you go. He was my karate student earlier. But he is from Tamil Nadu, so he speaks Tamil very well. So he told me, you go, he will come later. So I was climbing fast. In between, one tribal guy came and stopped us. And he was a bit arrogant. He said, where are you going? So my friend said, we are going to see Guruji. Do you have water? This guy said. Then we said, no. And he forcefully stopped us and went to the hillside and brought one dirty bottle. And I was thinking, who will drink this water? So anyhow, my friend took that and he kept in his, he was having a cloth bag, kept in that. I started climbing. I was having a bunch of banana for the Swamiji. I kept on climbing. I saw many people were coming down. But it was actually it was a huge hill. It was not as looked. I felt it was a small one, but 3 hours continuously I climbed, but still it was not reaching to the top. I became very tired. My feet, because of the heat, I got this boils over there immediately. Anyhow, what I'm saying is, as I reached to the top, immediately I was so tired and I was alone. Nobody was there. One monkey jumped on me. He wanted to snatch the banana which I was holding. So I took a stone to throw the monkey, and I saw hundreds of monkeys staring at me. Then I thought myself, no, throwing stone may not be a wise decision. So I didn't do anything. Immediately I saw someone else threw a stone to the monkey. I saw a tribal guy with a half trouser, like a ordinary tribal guy. Only he was wearing one trouser, khaki trouser. And he called me. I went near him. He was so furious. He was asking me in Tamil, pure Tamil. I didn't get anything, but little because of him. Air light, I could understand something. He was saying that, why? Where were you? I have been waiting for you for long hours. He was so furious. And from his talk, I came to know, where is the other guy? He was saying that you were two, now only one. Where is the other one? I waited there maybe around half an hour, 1 hour I waited. There was no sign of my friend. Then from his talk, I came to know, see, this heat, recently only one or two guys died over there because of sunstroke. That made me nervous. In a strange place, in extreme heat, I was like dancing because of the heat. There was no chapel. The hotel guy told me, when you go to see Guruji, you should not wear chappals. It was a crazy decision. Then I felt I should go back in search of my friend. He might have fallen somewhere. Around 1 hour I was waiting, there was no sign. Then immediately this guy held me forcefully. I said, no, he will come. Then I waited there because I was forced to wait. I was tired and nervous. Then around 1.5 hours, I saw my friend was limping. His, one layer of the skin from his feet completely worn out because of this heat, and he was having the heavy body. He was really screaming. He came to us and fell down. When he started talking to this tribal guy only, the story came up. This tribal man came over there 8 o'clock in the morning. You know why? He's bringing milk for the Swamiji. That Swamiji will drink milk twice a day. Morning, it will come from ashram, and 8 o'clock, it will be there. Then evening also, milk will come. So this is the guy who is bringing milk. 8 o'clock, he came there with milk. Swamiji told him, he has to wait there. 2 people are coming to see me. Then if they don't know the way, you be here, then take them to the ashram, give them food, then only you can go. So that guy was waiting there from 8 o'clock. We started climbing the hill at 9. It gave me some spark in my brain. I said, yes, this is the man. Then they started talking in Tamil. Everything was clear. Then why these monkeys are there? He told us, this master will not eat anything what given to him as dakshina. When people live there, he will play with the monkeys. He will share with the monkeys, the nuts and bananas and these things. He will share. That's why hundreds of monkeys are surviving there because of this guru. Anybody comes over there, they will give banana and nuts. This is what happened. Then I was a bit curious. I said, where is the master? So he took me to the other side. I saw a tribal guy sitting there. I thought somebody maybe sitting in Padmasana and meditating. I saw a guy who was sitting like a little bigger monkey. That's all. He might not have taken shower maybe few years. That much dust was in his body. Then I was a bit confused. I asked this guy, where is the master? And he said, yeah, this is the master. Bow down. So I bowed down to him. And he was sitting like this and simply raised his chin. I felt 2 needles of light pierced my eyes. I felt a little heaviness in my head and a murmur like sound I heard. But it was a fraction of a second. It was insignificant. I didn't notice that. But it was in my memory. So I asked him, Swamiji, get me a mantra. He didn't speak anything. He looked at me, said, that means I have to go. I was so, what I had to say, like totally disappointed.
Disappointed, yeah.
Yes. Then I was not ready to give up like that. Again, forcefully I said, Swami, I need mantra coming from Kerala. I wanted to tell. But immediately this guy became very angry. He said, like that he showed his anger. Then the other guy said, go, otherwise he will throw. I saw a heap of stones besides him. He will take the stone and throw. He is, such a cruel person. So with a total disappointment, I moved away. And my friend bowed down. He also moved. And then I thought, okay, it was one among many masters like this. So we went to ashram. In between, one more thing I forgot. My friend reached to the top and he fell down now. And he said, 3 times he fainted in between. Then he heard a voice, hey, you are Abhyasi. Abhyasi means a martial art practitioner. Don't you have water? Get up. This is what he heard. An inner voice told him. That guy, the tribal guy who gave that dirty water, saved his life. He drank that water, put little on his head, he climbed. Again it's happened, he repeated that. 3 times it happened. So then, even though these things happened, I was not very happy because I didn't get anything. That is what I thought. So I went to Ramanashram, and there is the cave where Maharshi did meditation. So there I sat for 30 minutes. I was so happy, some kind of energy I felt. But as I came out, I saw there was a small Shivalinga with a small bindi. When I saw that also, I felt that heaviness in my head and a small sound, which I heard in front of the master. But it was, I told you, it was insignificant. I forgot about that incident. Then I kept on doing my search. Then finally I met my Dharmananda Swami, got initiated. That story, then I went to forest, everything done. But after maybe 2.5 to 3 years, one day I was meditating in the midnight around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Then all of a sudden I started hearing that sound, murmur sound, which I heard in Tiruvannamalai around 3 years later. But it was not a short one. A continuous like that. It was roaming like that. I felt I was moving along with the sound. I felt I'm losing my balance or something. I got scared a little. Then I remembered the voice of my master. Anything comes, it is a kriya. Don't be scared. Stick on your mantra. I am with you. His his presence, his voice is there. So I reminded my mantra, and I felt yes, I am under the observation of my guru. So I started enjoying that. It started moving. First, I felt I was rotating. Then my room was rotating. Then the whole building was rotating. Then the whole universe was really rotating. And I became one with that. It was a fantastic experience. And I was observing it. Then I saw these movements, everything took a shape. A huge shape which is touching the sky. You cannot believe. I saw a guy who is sitting like this, cosmic man, the same master, looking at me. See, this is my experience. I can come, with a full confidence, I can say, I saw that guy whom I thought, little bigger monkey was sitting as a cosmic man in front of me. Again, I remembered my master's instruction. Anything comes, anybody comes, just bow down, that's all. So I bowed down to him.
Surrender.
Yes, he was looking at me, and slowly again he started moving. He took the shape of a huge Shivalinga, which I saw as I came out from the cave. In front of the cave, still it is there. So there I came to know the meaning of Shivalinga Puja. Why Indians worshipping Shivalinga. So that was the message of the Guru. I was really dancing because of that ecstatic feeling. Somehow I waited for the morning. I rushed to my master. I explained everything. He was pouring tears. And he said, actually what had happened, as when I started from Kerala, to
Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu, master knew I was in search of him. And deliberately, he gave that water to my friend and separated me from him to give him a different experience, for me another experience. And I was nervous and scared when I saw that tribal guy. Why? He was preparing my mind to put the seed. A good farmer will not sow a seed immediately. He will prepare the soil, pour water, condition the soil, then only he will plant a seed. So this is what he did. Then immediately he didn't do anything. With a simple darshan, he put the seed in my brain. It took almost 3 years for my brain to restructure to withstand against that cosmic darshan. If he had given me that darshan all of a sudden on top of that hill, I would have been completely mad. Now you understand how serious and calculative our masters are. So never try to get something, in a short way. We have to be patient enough. We have to follow the instructions of our experienced masters.
That's the moral of the story here, Guruji. What a lovely, lovely story. Somebody like Guruji had to struggle so much. The moral of the story is this: people are asking name of the master. I feel like all of that is irrelevant. What Guruji is saying, that you keep on the search, right?
Yes.
As long that our goal is not to find, it's to search. Finding will happen.
Yes.
It's just the searching. As you keep the search alive, finding is irrelevant. We will reach stations. We will reach where we need to reach. There will be problems. There will be frustrations. And Guruji talks about all his stories to us, even in the other class, that how many frustrations come. You feel like, oh, this is not for me. But you just, as long, Guruji was such a true seeker. That is the moral of the story, is to be the true seeker, not to find something.
See, as again, what happened? Later, I came out from the forest. I got my out-of-body experience. Then I got married. Then I was having my, conjugal life properly. And all of a sudden, that memory came, Tiruvannamalai. I felt that one more time I have to go. Then I told my wife, tomorrow you wake me up early morning. I have to catch the first train to Tiruvannamalai. So around 8 o'clock, I went to my bedroom and tried to sleep. And they were seeing, watching movie at the other room. Around maybe 8:30 or 9, I was slowly getting into sleep. I saw same master in front of me. That time he was smiling. Where are you going? He was asking me. I heard his voice, I saw. And I told him that, yeah, Tiruvannamalai to see Swamiji. Then he was smiling. He said, are you searching for my flesh and bone? This is what he was asking. Do your job. I am everywhere. Then he vanished. I was fully awakened, like, lot of energy injected me in my body. I was like fully blown. So I couldn't lie there on the bed. I came out and my wife saw. He asked, are you not sleeping? What happened? Really, I was glowing. And I said, no, I'm not going. But poor lady, she had already witnessed many mad things from me. So she said, okay.
She knew that you can make up your mind anytime, you can change your mind
Yeah.
anytime.
He doesn't expect anything, consistent in me because I keep on changing. But what I'm sharing my experience with you, our yoga masters, our real sages, they are immortal souls, and they are in different plane of consciousness, in different dimension. If we are courageous enough to do the practice and change our dimension, the mental dimension, we can be in touch with these masters. They are always there to help us or guide us or even protect us.
So true, Guruji. I feel it. Just as we found Guruji, Guruji, you're right. I was searching for the truth, and then Guruji came, right? Just as that happened, all the next steps will happen too. Guruji, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your truth and inspiring us like so much, Guruji. Pranam to you, Guruji.
Pranam. This time is over now? Oh, sorry. Time is over. I didn't know that.
No,
Thank you.
Guruji, Instagram has made some changes. Now it doesn't cut us off. Earlier it used to
Okay.
cut us off, so now it doesn't cut us off. I think they've made changes.
Right.
But hopefully I can
Okay.
still save this.
All right. Then, Pranam to all. Thank you.
Pranam, Guruji. Pranam. Thank you so much, Guruji.